And welcome into the Friday edition. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Friday morning. Hope everybody's off to a beautiful start to the day. I kind of got my days mixed up because of everything that's been going on this week, but it is Friday, so that's good, I guess. Got the weekend coming up. Rexrode, how we doing? Good morning.
Yeah, doing all right. Yeah, apparently still a lot of people in Nashville without power at this point.
Yes.
So hopefully that changes. But yeah, I mean, the days do have sort of run together here, and I'm going to give a meteorology report here. Yeah, we're finally, you look at next week, you get to Monday, and we're finally going to get into the 40s, and all this stuff I think is going to melt. Although apparently, I guess we can get a little bit more snow overnight Monday, so that's interesting. But temps over for, oh my gosh, next Friday we've got a 50 coming. Okay, so
God, I hope it's out of here by next Friday. But yes, I hear you.
Yeah, but the whole next week will be like 43, 48, et cetera, et cetera. So it'll yeah.
My driveway's worse. It's worse now than it's been the whole time.
That's crazy. But that's
I think
the problem
it's just because it's just settled in and refrozen. Yeah.
Yeah, the refreezing is like, So you guys sliding around the driveway a little bit?
I mean, I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus. I haven't had much of a problem getting in and out of there. Some other members of the household may have had some problems getting in and out of there. But so we'll see how that goes today.
Okay.
I throw anybody under the bus.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I throw Katie under the bus all the time. I mean,
well, my wife may or may not have, and now I'm about to throw somebody under the bus. My wife may or may not have decided like the best way to get out of the driveway, Joe, was to go about 2 miles an hour up the little embankment we have. And I was like, hey, you don't have to, gun it, but you gotta get a little bit of momentum going up your way.
A little bit more. Yeah. A little bit of a burst. Yeah.
But we're all good. Yeah, everybody's good.
Yeah. That stuff is tricky. And the good thing is we usually don't have to deal with this crap.
That's true. That's true. And you know what? I've gotten my fill, and I'm cool if we don't have to deal with it again for another 5 years. It's fine with me, man.
Does this mean that we're like clear for the winter?
I doubt it. Well, that's like we were talking yesterday. I mean, obviously, everybody's out of school this week for good reason, right? Like, the weather has been what the weather's been. I don't know. I guess it just depends on where you are, like how many snow days you have. But, we were talking about, our toddler goes to a Mother's Day Out program. It was like, so are they going to be out like into next week too? And I was like, well, maybe, but they need to save their days. It is only the end of January. We could have a couple of more of these by the time like April rolls around,
Yeah. Yeah. And,
maybe not like this, but you know what I mean?
Right. But that's the thing is that we always have days every year, and it's usually for like, less than this.
Exactly.
It doesn't take a lot. So.
It does not.
Yeah. But maybe we're going to be cruising, tropical here. I mean, if we get into February, short month, you never know.
You never know. Ian, how we doing? What's going on?
Good morning, guys. I'm doing just fine, thanks. My neck of the woods, I'd say, is getting better by the day. The sun getting out there, neighborhood's better, driveway's better. We did some shoveling, so the sidewalk to the street to the driveway was fine.
Yeah.
So it's getting better. So we've been on the lucky side for the most part. It is weird. All the kids, everybody being home for the entire week. So it's been fun. Movie night last night, I suggested Goonies, but yes. I was overridden, of course. The 6-year-old does not take anything of my advice at this point. She is not, whether it's movies, music, what we'd like for dinner, any suggestion is an automatic no from Dad. But so she went with Stuart Little.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not a bad choice. Not as good as the Goonies.
No, it's no Goonies. That's for sure. I was like, she's like, do you like this movie? I'm like, I'd rather watch the Goonies, but we're doing great. We're doing great. Thanks, guys. Hope everybody's staying safe and warm out there.
That's good.
So next time you say, what we really shouldn't watch is Goonies.
Yeah.
Let's not watch
Actually, that's a good idea. Maybe I'll go reverse psychology.
Start going Costanza.
My least favorite movie.
Bizarro. Yeah, just go Bizarro.
Yeah, that could be the way to go. Wow. I mean, that's My daughter goes in and out of those phases too, of like anything dad does is just a big no-go, absolute no-go. So we'll see how that goes. It's a fun phase to be
I
in.
think it stems from the music. I like to play my
Probably.
music, and she's no. And so she
Not
kind of just thinks everything I do is going to be on that same level.
Okay.
Yeah, I get that.
I like
But
it.
anyways,
I like
yep.
it. I got people asking where Stewart is today. I mean, who knows? I'm sure there's probably another Stewart Little remake coming at some point here. They can't. I mean, they're remaking everything now, so we'll probably get another one at some point.
Does that movie? I've never seen any of those sequels.
I believe there is a 2.
Is there a 2?
I believe so. Yeah, there
Okay.
was a younger sister in there at some point we watched, I think last night actually. I think
Okay.
Stuart Little 2 might have come on for a few minutes after Stuart Little 1.
Okay. I didn't know that there was an enterprise out there. It's good to know. Good to know.
Doesn't take much.
It does not. We got a lot going on in the program today. Charles Robinson was going to be with us today instead of yesterday. Some more scheduling stuff come up, so we're just going to get with Charles next week from the Super Bowl, and we'll get his thoughts on kind of everything that's taking place at that point. But obviously, busy times for Charles Robinson this time of year, so we will catch up with him next week. TD will be with us at 8 o'clock. He was at the Robert Saleh press conference yesterday. He's been hanging out at the Senior Bowl, so we'll get into all that with TD. We got the Rex rant coming up later in the show with Joe Rexrode, taking your thoughts on that. Robert Saleh was introduced as Titans head coach yesterday. The press conference took place over at the Titans facility, and it was cool. Joe, I guess my overall impression, I thought he did a great job with the press conference. I thought he was impressive. I think, in some of the things that he was willing to talk about, it's clear why he may have left a very positive impact on the Titans with some of the plans that he's got, the way that he communicated those plans. We said it heading into it, it's a press conference. So at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. Rand Carthon nailed his press conference. Brian Callahan nailed his press conference. So, this time, a couple of weeks from now, nobody's going to care about any of that stuff. It's about how are you going to be a good coach for our football team. So we understand all that heading into it. But all in all, I thought impressive stuff from Robert Saleh yesterday.
Yes. If in Pigskin Pick'em, if we had this, this would be a win. Said he'd win the press conference. He won the press conference, but and not everybody does, but usually, I'd say the hit rate is probably more than 90%. The people have come away like, yes. Hey, listen, let me tell you a press conference that somebody absolutely crushed. You know what I'm going to say?
No.
Jeremy Pruitt, freaking
no boy,
all the way down to the ites, and I was like, oh yeah, man, this guy's a ball coach. So, but no, I thought he was good, and I thought he was. I thought there was some very interesting points, but he was. He was impressive. You can kind of see it. Again, it's not like this is new. As he's going through the press conference, I'm thinking to myself, it'd be interesting to go back, and I'm not going to do it, but it'd be interesting to go back and watch the Jets press conference, right?
Sure.
Like how similar it is, or if it's different. Some good questions in there about what are you going to do differently, or what, because he has said that I definitely want to change things. I mean, the big thing he seized on was the play calling, but obviously I think there's more to it than that. But as he talked about that, I guess I feel better, and I know I guess he had kind of expressed that same idea, but hearing him go through it, I understood certainly more why he would want to do that.
Yep, and we're going to get into that here in just a few minutes, and there's a lot of things on the Robert Saleh front we're going to get into. He was asked pretty quickly in the press conference by a reporter who made sure, Ian, that we know what his name is. I mean, he made sure that we know his name, about Cam Ward and his plan for him, what that's going to look like. Here's what Robert Saleh had to say at his press conference yesterday.
Hi, Robert. Paul Kuharsky from paulkuharsky.com. Can you walk us through a bit your plan for Cam Ward and how you and Brian expect to get the most out of him heading into his second year and into his career?
No, absolutely. Great question too. Cam, from everything that I've gathered, just all the discussions I've had throughout the building and throughout the league, comes with an elite work ethic, elite character, an elite person. And when you look at his body of work as a rookie, a lot of these rookies, when they come in through the middle of OTAs. But so the biggest thing that we're going to work with Cam, just going all the way back to the beginning, we've gotten a whole off season to work with him, take him back to the very, very beginning, both on the field, off the field, the process at which, what it looks like to not only be a professional with regards to preparation in his body, but as a professional with regards to preparing from a game planning standpoint or a playbook standpoint. But, just talking with Dabes over the course of the last few weeks, he is the perfect man to match up with Cam and to maximize who he is. So again, we're really pumped to get to work with Cam and get him to where we all know he can be.
So, Joe, what did you make of that answer? Number one, from Robert Saleh there. Number two, Paul Kuharsky working 3 Paul Kuharskys in a 5-second span.
Have I mentioned Paul Kuharsky? Have I mentioned that's my name? and then Salah's like, great question. He's like, oh, I think I love you too.
Didn't take long.
Yeah. I thought it was a good answer. I thought it was an interesting answer. I thought also on the Cam Ward front, he's there. Simmons there. A lot of guys are there.
Yeah.
That happens, but I don't know. I almost felt like there were more players there than I can remember. And I've definitely been to some intro pressers where there weren't any players, or there might have been like one guy who happened to be the one guy who was in town or whatever,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, and we'll get into the offensive stuff, which is really interesting and things like that. And also there's an absolutely unmistakable characteristic that made me realize that Saleh, is a Detroiter all the way, which we can get into that too. But yeah, very well thought out. And there's no question that he has, to me, like I came away, we don't know what's going to happen, but I did come away believing that he really likes this opportunity and has to like Cam Ward a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, like because again, Robert Saleh he was going to get a head coaching job probably this cycle regardless, but it wouldn't have been long, right, for him to get back into the mix. He did not have to take this job. He was going to get a job. But I did come away thinking, he like we know, Dabes likes Cam. He must too.
Dabes, Vrabel, Dable. It all comes back to the same thing, Joe.
It does, right? Very interesting. History repeating itself.
It is. 615-737-1025, our phone number. We are off and running on Robby and Rexrode today. Taking your takeaways, your thoughts from Robert Saleh's introductory press conference from yesterday with the Titans. More on that coming up next. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
Nick Suss with the Tennessean. When you talk about the lessons you learned from New York, I'm curious, what are some of the specific things that you plan to do differently or you intend to do differently than obviously the
I don't know
Jets
if we have time, man.
Let's start us off with some big ones.
There's little things, I don't want to get in great detail on all that stuff, just for sake of just individuality and all that. But just one thing, and it's such a small thing. I didn't call plays in New York, and I just kind of gave it all to the coordinators, even though we were still part of the game planning and all that. I joke with Borgo on game day when I didn't call plays. I felt like I was just a timeout and red flag guy. I was just kind of I had the greatest seat in the house as a fan. So calling plays for me, it's not necessarily about control, but it's about connecting with the players. When you are a play caller and you are calling plays, you feel the strain that you're putting on them with each call. You're feeling the connection. You're feeling what each one is going through. And again, like I said, I can feel the weight of the play call on individual players in those moments. And to be able to call plays and maintain that connection, maintain that feel for what the players are going through, I think is very, very important from my seat. And it's just one of the many things that'll change throughout my tenure.
That was Robert Saleh yesterday at his introductory press conference discussing one of the changes that he's going to make from being a first-time head coach to now a second-time head coach with the Titans is he will be calling plays on the defensive side of things. Joe said, quote, "I felt like I was just the timeout and red flag guy in his first time around with the Jets," which I enjoyed. I thought that was a good line.
That was a good line. And that is it. So he just did Borgo, Dave's. I'm like, oh, yeah, this guy's a Detroiter. Everybody's got a hockey nickname.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a hockey name. Borgo.
At least he didn't say
like
Pop.
It's true.
Wait, what?
I said
Pop.
at least he didn't say Pop.
Yeah.
Call it
I don't
Pop.
get it.
Yeah.
The correct.
Well, yeah.
The
Frankly,
correct
I'm glad
term for-
you don't get it.
What?
I think,
Well, I
I
thought you
think
were
you should continue to not get it forever.
No, I thought you were talking about a person. Well, yeah. Well, he wasn't. Did anybody ask him about Pop?
No.
If I would, you know what? That's what we need to do. Here, hey, what would you like to drink? Yeah, I'll have a Pop. Oh, here you go. What kind? Coca-Cola. Great. Here you go.
Go look at that guy. You think he's drinking Pop?
Well, probably not.
Yeah.
But if he were to, allow himself every once a month, like a soda, he'd call it a Pop.
Okay.
And I'd respect the hell out of it.
Yeah, I mean, look, the play calling part of this is interesting. We talked about that from the jump when he was hired, right? His explanation he gives there, I think, is an interesting one. And look, man, if that's what he feels like if he feels like in order to really be connected with his players on the defensive side of the ball that he needs to be the one calling plays, knock yourself out, dude. Like if that's what you feel like, then fine. Like that's obviously the way that they're going to go here. I am interested to see what that ends up looking like. He was asked at another point, in the press conference, Joe, about, okay, so you're calling plays defensively. Are you still planning on being, as involved as you possibly can throughout the week on the offensive side of the ball? Obviously, a lot of stuff on special teams. And look, this is where the coaching staff that he's put together really helps with this, right? Like Brian Daboll knows what he's doing on the offensive side of the ball. Bones Fossil clearly knows what he's doing with special teams. So, with this staff, you probably can delegate a lot more, certainly, than you could have or should have, like with Callahan's staff, right? So there's part of that goes into this. I think that you got to think about and acknowledge when you're having this discussion. But as we know, the head coach, and he said this yesterday too. All that stuff's important, and play calling can add something to that. But like you're leading a building is the way he put it yesterday. Like he is leading an entire building, and interested to see how all that goes, kind of meshing all that responsibility together.
Yeah, and look, he seems to be obviously very good at it. Like if you're really good, and this is why these coordinators get jobs, because like if you're very good with basically half the team, then why can't you be very good with the whole team? I'm sure he is. I'm sure he'll be very good with Cam and the offensive guys, the defensive guys. Again, there's other stuff about it, especially some of the external stuff that is just stuff that the other coaches don't have to deal with. I mean, Dave's will pop out there once a week, and have to Paul Koharski, have you heard of me? PaulKoharski.com. You know, but
Make sure you subscribe.
Yeah, but like that's it. Then you get to just go, you go back in the building and do your thing. And obviously, when you're the head coach of an NFL team, you're all over the place. And there's public stuff, obligations, community obligations. Again, I think there's no way he's not good at all that stuff. Yeah, it's just then it just gets into like if you're losing, it's like the culture thing. You can have Vrabel always talked about. Sorry, Vrabes. I think it's a great point, and he's not the first one to make it. But culture, you really find out when you're losing. But when it comes down to it, if mostly what you're doing is losing because you're just not good enough, that's when it can get difficult. And you look at the Jets situation. There's a lot of things going on there that were difficult. Again, not trying to take responsibility off him, but he has the personality's there, right? I mean,
Sure.
Like you can see how he would crush an interview, right? And you also can see, and there's just too many testimonials out there and stories written and players who will gladly tell you like how much they love playing for him.
Well, and also, he didn't want to get too into detail with it yesterday, which is fine. I understand that. But there's clearly, it came up not only in the question we played coming back from break, but it came up a few different times in the press conference yesterday of, kind of alluding to some differences in his approach, in his plan from the first time around with the Jets to the second time around with the Titans. And that's kind of been my point the whole time, right? Like, I understand the Jets are the Jets, but there's got to be some significant growth from him from stop one to stop two if this is going to work with the Titans. And I would assume, while he wasn't willing to go too into detail with that with the media yesterday, which again is fine, probably went into significant detail with that with Mike Borgonzi and in the hiring process here. And I think that's part of why he's here. I mean, Borgonzi said it yesterday. He had a plan for everything. I mean, they started talking about, training camp and the offseason program and the weight room and all these different things. Like, clearly, Robert Saleh was very prepared to do what it took to get this job beyond his accomplishments as a former head coach and a defensive coordinator in the league. But there's clearly a plan in place here, and we'll see whether or not it works. I mean, that's ultimately going to be how he's judged here. But the preparation and I think lessons taken from stop one to stop two. I mean, he said yesterday he could talk for hours about the lessons that he learned in New York, that he's going to do things differently here with the Titans. That's what I want to see, right? That's what I've been talking about the whole time. It can't just be, well, it's the Jets. The Jets are a tire fire. I was right the whole time. No. You got to figure some stuff out from stop one to stop two. And it looks like clearly he has, and we'll see if it works.
Yeah. And it's also clear, and we had Zach Rosenblatt at the presser yesterday, kind of writing it from the, a little bit of who covers the Jets for us, kind of writing it from the perspective of the second chance thing. And the one quote that he got, Saleh told Zach was, quote, "I'm grateful. I'm ready to get this thing popping to prove that where we were going was real. In other words, where the Jets were going was real." He's obviously driven by, you get another chance, and anybody would take another chance. But I think that's good. Like you want to prove to people that, that you actually, there was more going on there that could have worked than it actually happened. Now you have to actually prove it. It has to actually all come together. But, he seems driven to kind of show that, that he is a better coach than people think he is.
So what do we make of the plan that Saleh has laid out for what the Titans are going to do offensively? We will get into some of that coming up next. Take your thoughts as well. 615-737-1025. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game, live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Taking more of your reaction from Robert Saleh's introductory press conference from yesterday. Mo talking about he liked when Saleh talked about how he's got a plan for coaches and their development. That did come up on the Brian Dable front, Joe, of, okay, so what happens if he's gone after 1 year? And, Saleh's response to that I thought was interesting, which was essentially, yeah, go look at some of the people we're about to hire. We think they're on the fast track of becoming coordinators in the National Football League. So interesting stuff on that front. But that system we've also talked about, right? So if Dayball is coming in and he's running the Earhart-Perkins system, which is not really what Saleh's background is, right? Like, he's a Shanahan guy. And he mentioned yesterday, you look around the league, a lot of Shanahan offenses that are out there right now. So if Daboll ends up being hired away after the first year, I mean, I think conventional wisdom would tell you that they end up with an offensive coordinator probably more from the Shanahan tree, but that's neither here nor there as it comes to this discussion. Right now, Brian Daboll is the offensive coordinator, and Robert Saleh talked yesterday about that, about the trends in the league right now, and how he thinks the Titans could have an edge based on the system they're about to run. Here's what Robert Saleh had to say at his press conference on Brian Daboll yesterday.
I think it's going to work great. There's a lot of layers to this one. First off, Kyle Shanahan is one of the biggest, best offensive minds in all of football, period. And if you look at the NFL landscape right now, his offense and his influence is all over the league. Probably, I would argue, 80 to almost 90% of the league. And so Dave's is going to be different. So from a game planning standpoint, and I'm just speaking for myself, like as a defensive coach, you're going through it, just looks like every offense is the same. But when you play the Tennessee Titans, it's going to be different. And so there is a level of game planning that's going to have to change within a week. So that's first. Dave's has had a history of developing young quarterbacks in this league in college and the different stops that he's had. And he's touched many from experience to youth. He has a tremendous amount of experience with tremendous quarterbacks all over. But, there's a lot of benefits to what he does as a defensive guy, game planning against Dave's. I can tell you that he's always going to strain you both run and pass. He's going to find the run-pass conflicts within your scheme for individual players. He's going to attack out of it. And again, excuse my language, but he's special in that regard. He's a problem to go against.
So that was Saleh on Daboll, the system that they're going to run, the challenges that it presents. And when you're looking around the league, I mean, he talked about, 80% of the offense in the NFL is kind of related to that Shanahan, McVay type of system there. Joe, what did you make of that part of it in terms of the system the Titans are running and the game planning challenges that it could present?
Yeah, it's interesting. It kind of, like I said yesterday, it's a different system, but I think terminology that's the one thing is differently. You have to how you describe plays, essentially, when you're calling it out is very different. I think that like Pro Football Reference did a thing in 24. I think the only three Earhart-Perkins teams were the Giants, of course, but then also the Bills and the Lions. Those are the three teams that are that system. West Coast, 23 of the teams. Coryell was just Baltimore, Philly, Denver, Dallas, and then you could break it down that they call like Kingsbury is a spread. So that's also its own kind of separate thing that the Titans were also looking at as a possibility, which is interesting. So, yeah, I think I hear what he's saying. If it's really that different, but I mean, think about that. Like, think about those teams, and would you know for sure that, like, oh yeah, the Bills, Giants, and Lions. That's the same offense. I mean, again, you have to be a hell of a ball knower.
Yeah.
Right, because to me, again, he said this, like they all take concepts. I mean, a lot of the stuff that the West Coast teams do, which is the majority of the league, other people are doing. It's just, I know that Earhart-Perkins is known as a big timing offense, but so is the West Coast. So it's interesting just in terms of, okay, so maybe that is an advantage. In a given week, the other team has some things they're not used to seeing or dealing with that they have to deal with yours. But then you do get to that, and this was a good question. by Kaharski on the succession thing, because if it's not internal, then there aren't that many options out there. And again, Saleh's background would be bringing back a West Coast guy.
Yeah, for sure. And how much do I buy into it's going to be difficult to game plan part of this? I mean, we'll see. I understand that, you develop a routine throughout the course of a season. And if you're a team, depending on where the Titans may fall on the schedule, like if you're going up against the Titans after you've just taken on 4 teams in a row that run a pretty similar offense, that Shanahan McVay style of offense, then yeah, I mean, you're probably looking at some different stuff, and you're having to prepare for some different stuff with the Titans. Now, it's not like the Titans are, running Vanderbilt's offense with Diego Pavia a couple of years ago, where it's like, wow, where did this come from? Like, it's just totally different with that guy running the offense out there. Like, at the end of the day, it's going to come down to how many good players do the Titans have, right?
Yeah.
Like, is Cam Ward a good player? Do they go out and get a couple receivers this offseason that are actually threats out there? Like, can the Titans improve their running game and get it, closer to what it looked like at the end of the year from the jump next year? I mean, there's a lot that goes into that from a personnel standpoint. It's probably going to determine the success or failure of this offense and all that. So I understand all that heading into it, but it is an interesting thought coming from a defensive coordinator, and a very good defensive coordinator, about that part of it. So I have to pay attention to it.
Yeah. But it's like if a team's looking at Buffalo, is it the scheme that bothers them, or is it crap? We got to tackle Josh Allen. Meanwhile, again, same scheme, air quotes, and then you play the Lions next week. Well, got the same scheme. Of course, you also now have a quarterback who can't move at all, but you have Gibbs and Amon-Ra. It is about that. I'm not gonna say it's about players, not plays. Someone said that. I don't remember who, but it's very true.
It is. They need some better players. There's no doubt about that. Bottom line on the Saleh stuff, Joe, and we'll continue to take your thoughts on this throughout the show today. But the bottom line is this: the guy seems prepared for the job, right? Now, when it comes down to actually doing it and being the head coach, and frankly, do they have the right quarterback?
Having the players.
We'll find out. Are they going to go get the right players? I mean, there's a lot that we don't know sitting here on January the 30th about how this tenure under Robert Saleh is going to play out here. But it doesn't take long of watching him, listening to him, to understand why he was impressive in the meeting rooms, in the interview rooms, right? I mean, his background as a DC is what it is. His background as a head coach to this point in the NFL has not been good, but clearly he's identified and communicated, I think, to the Titans some things from that first stop in New York that he wants to change moving forward here. So bottom line is, I thought it was impressive yesterday from Robert Saleh. I think as a fan, you get a good glimpse of kind of how prepared he is for the job, how impressive he is around people, his ability to communicate and connect with people. All that sounds good. And now, Joe, we're going to find out. I mean, the limitations of the press conference are pretty strong.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really good, and some interesting stuff. It has a limited value and shelf life and all that, but yeah, if a Titans fan watched that and was like, man, I really like this guy, I'm really excited, I think this guy seems like a good leader. I mean, I'm not shooting that down.
No.
It was good. On the offensive coordinator, do we have that, by the way, by chance? His answer on the succession plan?
Sure, give me just a sec.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting because basically, I mean, I guess it could be interpreted different ways, but I kind of took it as like he has one or two people in mind who will be like the successor, as opposed to going outside. Maybe that's overreading into it, but that's what it kind of sounded like to me. I mean, and it was a good answer about developing coaches in general, but
sure.
But also it seems specifically like with that, maybe that was part of the plan he gave to these guys.
Oh, maybe so. I mean, look, I don't know exactly, the depths of what his staff is going to look like here. But again, like that's part of knowing as many people as not only he, but this entire staff knows. That's another benefit of that, Joe. Like, people talk about experience, and yes, experience is important, but experience is also important, beyond just the on the field stuff, like who and your access to some of these coaches is a big deal in this discussion.
No, it is. It is. And that's the thing. It's like, on that front, you would think he would have a shot to get some of these up and comers on the West Coast side of things. I would hope that he wouldn't be closed off to that, even though then you're saying,
Sure.
okay, we're redoing it all again, but it still might be worth it.
It might be. We got that clip from Robert Saleh yesterday in terms of the succession plan as offensive coordinator options could go should Brian Dable get a head coaching job after this season. Here's what Saleh had to say on that front.
Really excited about the staff that we've been able to assemble over the last week since we officially locked arms, if you will. But there's a plan. I think when you look at our staff, and obviously there's still some things that are fluid before we announce all of them to you, but we've got a tremendous mixture of experience and youth. We've got some young guys that'll be on the offensive staff that we feel are on the fast track to becoming coordinators. And like I said, for me, the succession plan comes from my seat in terms of what our plan is for each individual coach and how we develop them. I've talked about it before. The most cliche statement a coach can make is that it's our job to develop players. It's like, well, no kidding. Of course, that's our job, but who are the people developing the coaches who are asked to develop the players? You can have a coach in the Stone Age that's developing his player, but his player's never going to leave the Stone Age. So how are we keeping our coaches up to date, evolving, staying ahead of the game? So our players are constantly evolving and staying ahead of the game. So we have a program for that to make sure that our coaches are constantly evolving and pushing the envelope of what they're capable of. No different than we're going to ask our players to push the envelope of what they're capable of. So to go back to your original question, there's a plan in place. It'll kind of be revealed once we start showing off revealing our coaches. But it goes beyond the name of the coaches that are involved. It's going to go to the development that we expect them to have.
There you go. I mean, he goes. I don't know if you can exactly say that it's basically going to be like an in-staff hire if Dable leaves after that, but he was basically like, you'll see some of these names that we've got when we announce the staff coming up, and we're going to develop these guys as coaches. So, I mean, you would have to think that whoever they're going to have on their offensive staff, Joe, got a pretty good inside track to be in the next coordinator if Dable has success and leaves.
Yeah, for sure. And we're going to be really interesting to sort of, once the staff is all going to put there, to kind of think about who that might be. Brian, good point by Brian. Offense. Yeah, he's a hockey guy. He's from Hockey Town. I know, do people hate Detroit being called Hockey Town around here?
They used to.
Yeah. I get it. One other quick thing on from the Zach story that I didn't realize, and maybe you did. Did you know that he finished second to Liam Cohen for the Jags job last year?
I think I do remember that. Yes,
I'd forgotten that.
You got to remember the circumstances at the time too. I mean, they had the general manager there. It was pretty late in the process too.
Yeah. I mean, I remember all this stuff with the GM and, Balkier out and all that stuff, but I'd forgotten that Saleh was there. So it's not just their little, flap they had this year.
He just legitimately hates Liam Cohen. I mean, it's going to be awesome.
That is going to be fun. No one asked about that yesterday.
I know. Disappointing.
There's some other stuff they should have asked about that they didn't. Oh, well.
615-737-1025, our phone number. A couple more thoughts to get to on the Saleh front. Plus, what do we make of Mike Borgonzi and the way that he's handled the coaching search and the confidence level from Titans fans in him? We'll get into that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Reacting to Robert Saleh's introductory press conference yesterday with the Titans. Joe, Ed has pointed this out on the text line. It's really the only time yesterday that I cringed a little bit. He did give us the oblong ball line that you never know which way the ball's going to bounce. And I had just immediate flashbacks to Rand Carthon. I was like, all right, I understand that Rand Carthon did not, he didn't invent that phrase. It's not like he's the first one that ever said the ball is oblong and you never know how long, which way it's going to bounce. But I just hope Robert Saleh never says that again. It is immediate PTSD.
Well, the Vrabster said that many times.
I know. I don't want that either.
Yeah. So
Rand ruined it.
Just saying, the great Vrabel. Yeah, I think Rand did Rand say it at the Vrabel got fired presser? It might have been. I don't know.
I believe he did. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's when it was. And it was like, that was not the day for that,
Well, and it was also like the end of that year where he may have said it at the end of the season press conference, describing like how the year went. And like it may be even independent of Vrabel.
But
it's like, oh, good.
But there wasn't a press conference other than Vrabel got fired.
Yeah.
He didn't do a presser. Yeah. Until it was like, hey, Rand, you're the only guy in the building. Just go out there and explain this.
Go out there and
please.
Do this.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, the oblong ball. That's one of those that you're like, yeah, get rid of that one. The other, the presser again, he was good. There was some good questions there. I just really was. I wanted someone to just ask the to me obvious question about how it came about to bring in Dable. They talked about the relationship and they talked about the succession plan, things like that. But I think that's a worthwhile question. It's like, okay, so was this sort of a thing where they said, "What do you think about him?" And you agreed. I mean, does it really matter that much moving forward? Like that's his OC. No, but I think that's a good housekeeping question to just sort of get that established, that's how this was. It was somewhat of an arranged marriage, or maybe he said, actually, no, I came in there and it was the first name I said because, shoot, man, this guy, like he's a grill master like you wouldn't believe back at the pool. I mean, whatever the answer is, I think that was a question that should have been asked. Thanks a lot, Kaharski.
You should have seen how well this guy hit the volleyball in the pool. Like, it's unbelievable. Just the athleticism that he put on display out there.
I mean, Marco Polo, I could never find that dude. It was amazing.
On Mike Borgonzi, now that the coaching search is done, he's landed Robert Saleh, Brian Daboll in the fold, regardless, I guess, of how he got there as offensive coordinator. And, we're about to move pretty quickly, Joe, over the next month and a half here into player acquisition season. NFL free agency will be around the corner. Before we know it, and I know that there's a lot of talk about it to become between now and then, but the NFL draft will be here, and we're going to see how much of a makeover this roster gets. I mean, Jack on the YouTube chat talking about Saleh's comments on the blank slate and what this roster is going to look like from a turnover perspective. And we know it. It's a bad roster. They got a lot of work to do. They got a lot of cap space, and they've got some draft choices they're going to have to make that are going to be crucial as to how this whole thing goes over the next few years. But the confidence level from Titans fans in Mike Borgonzi, it feels high. And again, now you've got basically the two pieces in place, Joe, and it'll be more than this, but the two pieces in place that are going to largely define Mike Borgonzi's tenure, right? The first has already been here in Cam Ward at quarterback, and now the head coach that he's hired, right? It's going to be more than that. Like, you've got to make some good decisions in the draft, and he's got a lot of resources that are about to be thrown his way and available to him in order to go add in free agency. But those two main pieces are now in place, and Borgonzi is going to, in my opinion, sink or swim with them, right? Like, that's where it is at this point with him.
Yeah, no question about it. No question about it. I mean, it's going to be – someone's asking on the text line about he said the wrong name, Denard I don't know. He said the wrong name, but Denard Wilson, of course, on to the Giants. I mean, that's a guy like the D coordinator thing is another interesting thing here with with Saleh, like how much does that matter? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's weird how you think differently about offense and defense. I mean, we're going to be so focused on Dable and that whole side of the ball and the thing about Cam Ward, but like I guess I also wonder if you have a play calling head coach. Like, do we have any examples of non-play calling D coordinators who get jobs? You know,
I mean,
I'm
you
just-
tell me, but I know it wasn't always the case, but there was at least a time where Belichick was calling the defense, right?
That is true. Yeah, that is true. And so I don't remember if that was like during Patricia or not. Because I feel like Patricia called plays.
Patricia
at some
called
point.
plays, yeah, at some point.
So actually, because
But maybe early, right? Like was
Yeah.
early was Belichick calling defense in his run there?
I think he probably was. So and I think those guys still like what was Romeo Crennel? Was he? Now I'm going down the rabbit hole of what was Crennel's job? Was he not D coordinator? Or was he O coordinator?
I feel like it was
Shoot, I don't
defense.
know. He was DC, right? Is that right? No. Anyway, I mean it's an interesting thing. It's like how important is the D coordinator with the Tennessee Titans now? They all have to do a lot of work. Like there's a division of labor that you have, but like with the last coaching staff, you had an OC that was just kind of like I'm sure he worked hard, but he came out every week and he answered questions. But like but which is still weird too, because again, Callahan was that same thing and got a head coach job. And there's a bunch of other examples in this league of people being the same thing, got a head coach job. In this case, maybe it was just the personality, but it seemed almost irrelevant. And then they give that play calling to somebody else.
By the way, this is from NBC Sports Boston. Belichick called the plays defensively for the Patriots like 3 different times throughout his stretch as coach there. I think it was 2000. I think in 2010, 2011, he called defense. And the early part of 2019, he was calling defense too. So on and off.
So it's basically like he would take it over when it needed to be taken over.
Correct.
Kind of like Vrabel basically did in 2020.
Yes.
When it was very bad.
Well, there is that. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. 615-737-1025. More your reaction to Robert Saleh's press conference. More your thoughts on Mike Borgonzi and your confidence level in him. Moving forward, we will get into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Friday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Teron Davenport will be with us at 8 o'clock. He was at the Robert Saleh press conference yesterday. We will get into that with him. Looking forward to TD being with us later in the program. The Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up later this hour at 7:45. And as always, your thoughts in the meantime at 615-737-1025. Taking a lot of your thoughts on Robert Saleh's press conference from yesterday. And then Mike Borgonzi, right? Like Mike Borgonzi's made the hire here. Mike Borgonzi now in charge of building out this roster as the offseason goes along here. And Joe, I think, Titans fans are high on Mike Borgonzi right now. Now, we've seen this kind of go in waves throughout the tenure of the franchise, much like the owner, right? Like the owner has, just kind of picked and choose who she really trusted in the organization. And at one time it was Robinson and Vrabel. Then it looked like it was Vrabel. Then all of a sudden it was Rand. And then it was Callahan. And so, anyway, Brinker, throw him in there too. There's been a lot going on around here. But Borgonzi, obviously, I think that there's a certain level of respect that Borgonzi has commanded around the league, right? Like I think Borgonzi, when you start listing out the attractiveness of this job, right? Obviously your thoughts on Cam Ward at quarterback are probably going to be at or near the top of the list, right? Certainly living in Nashville doesn't hurt. I mean, that's a nice bonus to it. You got, as texters and commenters have pointed out today, you got a lot of cap space and a lot of ability for a roster to change over. So there's all that you feel. You also need to have a pretty good amount of confidence. Saleh mentioned the research that he did yesterday. He said he did probably more research on the Titans than they did on him. Like, at the end of the day, if you're him or if you're any of these candidates, you got to be pretty confident that the guy who's going to be making personnel decisions and bringing these guys in and drafting these players, while you're going to have input in it, like this is Borgonzi's roster, right? So you got to have pretty good confidence that he knows what he's doing and he's going to be able to provide you with the players that you need to go out there and win. So it feels like, Joe, again, knowing that he's 1 year in and that their record was 3-14 when it took place. I understand that. But it feels like that there is a level of respect out there on the Mike Borgonzi front, and that there's confidence that he is the right person in charge of the roster to ultimately flip this thing around.
Yeah, it shouldn't be anything more than cautious optimism at this
Correct.
point. But yes. And it was interesting hearing Saleh talk about the research of Borgonzi. We looked into you too, by the way.
We did.
But Saleh specifically pointed to Amy, as a reason he took the job. And of course, the real discussions on that are, you going through what you just said. So fires a person, and then all of a sudden then switches the next person, and now you keep having different timelines and firing people. Someone has to be fired, someone has to be fired. But again, if you're a Saleh, if you're any of these coaches, I think first of all, you're confident that you're going to get it done. So you're not worried about that stuff, because that's not going to be the situation with you, because you're going to win. And so you're not going to have to worry about the trigger happy owner. But I think another big part of that is just, do you think Borgonzi's good? Do you think his staff's good? Do you have certainty that there's not going to be meddling? There can be firing and bad decisions. There have been. I mean, no one can spin that. Saleh's like, she invests so much in this team. It's like, well, that's true. Okay, leave it at that. But you can have firings like that. But if you have constant meddling, that's another thing altogether. I don't think that's the situation. And so if you think that he's good, the staff's good, and they're going to be able to do their jobs, and also, obviously, you're going to have input. Of course he will.
Sure.
Saleh's going to have a lot of input.
He should.
He absolutely should, on who they select and who they sign and all that stuff. If you feel good about that, then, yeah, that's the part of the job, to me, that's as important as anything. Like, basically, am I going to a place where they're going to have a system for getting good players, because I know right now they don't have that many.
You know what this also tells me? And I think this is kind of based on some of the, the Albert Breer stuff that we talked about, but also what we know about Saleh. This also tells me that I think LaFleur likes Amy Adams-Strunk. I mean, they're best friends. If LaFleur was like, hey, man, I don't think you want to do that, I don't know that he would be here. Tells me LaFleur likes Amy Adams-Strunk. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Very well. In his 1 year here, that was back in the glory days of Amy tailgating with everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, in fact, I want to say that might have been. Was that the year that she redid the locker room? It was right around then.
It was around that time.
It was around that time. It was the new uniforms, and Vrabes is out there singing Florida Georgia Line songs like he likes that band way too much.
Yeah.
And so those are the glory days. Back when things were going well, anybody's going to have just nothing but good things to say.
I was thinking about that yesterday, and I know I'm probably the only one thinking about that, but it's like, so we know basically from the Albert Breer story of like how this all went down that the Titans spent at least a decent amount of time talking to Matt LaFleur about Robert Saleh. I would imagine that Robert Saleh spent a decent amount of time talking to Matt LaFleur about the Titans. It's like, my God, how involved was Matt LaFleur with the Tennessee Titans head coaching decision here?
Yeah, but I mean, heavily. Those guys are like best friends going back to when they were like 19. So no question. And of course you're gonna tap it. I forgot too, by the way, and I'm sure this but I forgot about the whole thing with the consultant little stint before he got the Niners job.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. So
yeah.
No, I mean, absolutely Matt LaFleur heavily involved. So maybe, I don't know, does that sour the whole thing for you?
It doesn't help. But I'm leaving an open mind. I've said it. LaFleur would be a good coach for this job, based on where the roster is right now.
So he'd be a good coach in your mind for any of 31 possible jobs in the NFL.
Maybe some of that.
Yeah.
Maybe some of that.
You better watch that LaFleur slander. I'm just saying. I mean, this dude's big. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, you throw out too many LaFleur complaints, you never know. We might get a visit at the studio. So
you're talking from Saleh.
Yeah.
Like if LaFleur showed up to the studio, I'd be like, hey, man, go get your eyebrows done. Get out of here. It'd be fine.
I hope Saleh's not listening.
I'm just saying. Just saying what's going on here.
He's messing with his best buddy.
It is. It's kind of amazing to me. Those two guys are best friends. Like they seem like they're like the polar opposite type of people, which is, I guess sometimes that works that way, right?
Yeah, I guess that's true. Obviously, LaFleur is a offensive guy, clapper on the sideline.
Yeah,
and Saleh is
a clapper.
Although, it's funny, not quite a Bryce Drew clapper, but he's a clapper.
He's a clapper.
What's funny is like one of the criticisms of Saleh in New York was like that he didn't show enough emotion on the sideline. That's the thing. Like they wanted him just screaming all the time. But like when I bet
that changes here, by the way.
Well, this last year, I mean, when you watch the Niners games, they were constantly cutting to him after like a big stop, like, losing his bleep. So I don't know. Maybe I can't sit here and say that I can recall watching any Jets games, period, much, but then also like seeing him as like this stoic clapper on the sideline.
We did get a question earlier from a texter that was like, Saleh going through this process, did he ever look at Mike Borgonzi and was like, hey, so can you make me a promise that you're never going to make a roster decision based off somebody's Madden ratings? Because if so, that'd go a long way towards helping me take this job.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, because of course, there had been some Titans fans who like, cringe or close their ears or rolled their eyes when he's talking about like ownership as like a reason to take the job. But remember where he came from, guys. Like, I mean, as bad as some of the decisions have been here, and as bad of a decision it is to not ever speak anymore. Like, look at the stuff Woody Johnson's got going on over there, right? It's a different level altogether.
Yeah, every time, we've been treated to plenty of dysfunction around here, and the record would suggest the Titans are right there with those Jets/Browns/ whatever bad organizations you want to throw in there over the last few years. But then you see some of the stuff that goes on in Cleveland and some of the stuff that goes on with the Jets, and you're like, yeah, it probably could be worse.
Yeah, exactly. Jared brings up the point. Saleh said he and Dabes have been talking for weeks, which made me think it wasn't arranged by Barganze. Well, again, that's why I wanted the question asked, right?
Yeah,
like that's why I wanted the question asked, like, because it was reported that Dable made it clear how much he liked Cam Ward, right? He was
sure.
So yeah, was it like Dable and Saleh together? Like, yeah, man, let's go all out and let's do this together. That would be interesting to find out, or to find out the other way, but no one asked.
615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. The Predators back in action last night, and they end up with another overtime loss. Is the playoff push slowly slipping away here? We will get into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
Bruno, you get 1 point here tonight. What do you think of the effort overall?
Oh, it was a really good road game. I thought managed the puck really well. Kind of didn't let them get going too much on the rush. It was disappointing not to get out of here with two. I thought we played well enough to get two and get out. then again, you go to overtime and we flip a coin, and Nico made a great shot.
You get one in Boston, you get one here tonight. We've talked about the week itself. How do you think you guys are playing on the road so far this week?
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously still an opportunity to win the week here. We're collecting points, which is big. We could have used 2. I thought we probably deserved 2, maybe even both nights, and we didn't get them. So we got to go back to work and finish this week off with collecting more than just 1.
That was Andrew Brunette after the 3-2 loss in overtime last night by the Predators to the New Jersey Devils. So, Joe, the Preds have lost 3 in a row here, dating back to the Utah game this past weekend. Now, the last 2, they have lost in overtime. So you get the point against Boston, you get the point against New Jersey last night. So that's good. I mean, if you're going to lose a game, it's better to lose it in overtime than losing it in regulation. However, you start to look at the standings, Joe, and they're now 5 points out of the final wildcard spot. So Utah's at 60 points at the top wildcard spot. Seattle has hopped Anaheim, and they're technically third in the Pacific now. Anaheim holds on to the final wildcard spot at 59 points. Predators are at 54. So you've got Anaheim above the cut line at 59. San Jose's at 58. LA's at 57. And the Predators are at 54. So that's where things stand on the wild card front right now. So you're still in it. Like, you're still in the mix here, but you are 5 back now of that final wild card spot. So while it's been good that at least if you're going to lose, you're picking up some points here, they really need to start picking up 2 points over the next little stretch here on a more consistent basis if they're going to hang in this thing.
Yeah, if we're talking about 8 points, 9 points, so essentially, can you win? Can you win 3 or 4? Can you win 3 or 4? That puts you at 8. It's not bad to get these points. It's like Brunette said. I mean, it's tough. You get into overtime, and some teams are better than others. I saw who's the team that's got like is it the Kings that have like 15 overtime losses or something crazy like that? Like,
well, there's a couple of teams that, like, the Kings have 13 overtime
13,
losses.
okay. Yeah.
The Golden Knights, who are in first place in the Pacific Division, have 14.
Yeah. So imagine the bottom line there if you're just breaking even,
Yeah.
Some teams are. What is the Preds? What is their overtime record? It's hard to
I mean, I'll have to go find
tally
the
up the
actual
wins,
overtime record, but it's been decent. Like,
they're
been pretty
50,
good.
50-ish,
Yeah,
right?
they've been pretty good in overtime and shootouts, really, over the last few years with Andrew Brunette. If they could get the game to overtime, they're typically doing okay in it. But last 2 have not gone their way.
Yeah, it gets better. After you get rid of the Ryan Johansson takes longer than our longest caller to fire off a shot in the shootout move.
He scored on a lot of those.
It never should have. It was wrong. The hockey god should have never let him score. But yeah, it's I don't know, slipping away. Is that too strong a statement? It's getting a little reality maybe creeping in. You're going to have to really do something special here the rest of this trip.
Well, they've clearly cooled off, right? Like, they went through December and the early, where not only were they winning a lot of games, but they're scoring a lot of goals, right? Like, they were scoring a lot of goals while they did it, and they've cooled off some, right? Like, they scored 2 last night. Now, I agree with Brunette. I watched a good portion of that game last night. They probably could have had a couple other goals, but they didn't. Against Boston, I thought they played pretty well. They had 30 shots on goal in that game. Probably could have scored a couple more goals than that one, but they didn't do it. And so the offense has dried up a little bit here. I mean, that's the 3rd game in a row that they've only scored 2 goals, right? So you had 5 last week against Ottawa, and now you've rolled off 3 games in a row where you've only managed 2 goals. So, I mean, the bottom line is, if you're scoring 2 goals a game, Joe, it's going to be hard to win. Like, it's hard to win games in this league when you're only getting 2 goals. Now, at least you're picking up some points right now. Like I said, you're not out of it. But if you don't turn it around here pretty quickly and get back to stacking some wins together, you're going to find yourself, by the time the trade deadline comes around, right where you are right now, which is, 5, 6, somewhere in that neighborhood amount of points out of a playoff spot. And to me, when you get to that point, it's more and more difficult to justify not making some moves to sell if you're Barry Trotz at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, the guys in the room may not agree with that, but you got to look at. And again, I will say, like, if Colorado keeps, I know they've hit a little slump and all that stuff, but like if they end up just like running away with the President's Trophy, that actually would be like the team that runs away with the President's Trophy. I actually would like a shot at them as the 8 seed because I feel like that, the crazy
Just test
stuff
that theory out a little bit. Yeah.
but I'm with you in general on the whole. Anything can happen, even if you do get in. And so now if you're kind of, you're several points back as we hit this key point, kudos for the comeback. They were barren offensively. They got red hot. Maybe they're settling into a little bit more what they are. And to me, it's just not quite good enough.
Well, and Svechkov got sent down to Milwaukee yesterday. So we've been talking about that for a while, right? Like he has not had a good year. And I don't know exactly why that is. I mean, it really from the jump this year, Svechkov just hasn't had it. So he's probably needed to go back to Milwaukee for a while. They finally pulled the trigger on that. I mean, he had 9 points and 2 goals in 49 games. So he's gone, which I understand. Like when you look at the impact he's had this year, it's not that big of a loss. Like I understand that. But also now you look at what they're putting together out there, Joe, right now at center. And it's kind of my point. Like Ryan O'Reilly has played really well. I said it last week. I'll stand by it now. Ryan O'Reilly has played like a number one center so far this year, which is great to see at his age. Right now, beyond that, this is what your center depth looks like right now for the Predators. Eric Halla, Michael McCarron, Tyson Jost. Those were your other 3 centers in the game last night. And the bottom line is when that's your center depth, it's just going to be really hard to win on a consistent basis.
For the record, I like Michael McCarron in his particular role, but yes.
I do too. I do too. But I'm just saying that,
yes.
Like when you
The
stack
other
that
two, that's
center
where it's
depth up,
problematic.
yeah, when you stack that center depth up to some of the teams that they're going up against, and certainly that they would be going up against in the playoffs, that's a tough sell, man.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like the O'Reilly debate is really fascinating. I'm just fascinated to find out, if Trotz is thinking about it the way Alex Doherty talked about the other day, or if it's like, it's just there are offers that are too good to refuse. We'll find out. But take him out, and then look at that. I mean, compare like this team down the middle to like other teams where there were no centermen. I mean, it's talk about barren. By the way, I need to address this. I forgot to mention this yesterday, and thanks to Nate for reminding me. So apparently they sell Labatt at Preds games. I did not know this.
Oh yeah, I could tell you that. Yeah.
I mean, and also they apparently sell it at a grocery store chain that I don't normally go to, because the one I do go to, they do not have it. And they don't have it at like beer stores that I've gone to either. So I'm very excited. I'm going to get some Labatt at some point.
It's good.
And also, I'm very excited. Shout out to, I don't know that Sean Henry makes the beer choices, but Sean Henry, as a former Detroiter, I'm sure he knows the absolute magnificence of Labatt. So I'm going to give him credit for it.
There you go. I'm sure he will take the credit for it, and he will give you a nice huck in the process of it. We will get into some NFL headlines coming up next. The Eagles have finally filled their offensive coordinator role. Who in the world is going to coach the Arizona Cardinals? We'll get into that and a whole lot more coming up next. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. 94.9 The Fan, your home for Vanderbilt women's basketball. Today, the number 5 Commodores taking on number 17 Ole Miss at 2 o'clock. Pregame beginning at 1:45. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. About the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up here in just a few minutes at 7:45. Teron Davenport with us at 8 o'clock. I got some tickets to give away to see the Preds take on the St. Louis Blues at Bridgestone Arena coming up on Monday night. Puck drop at 7 o'clock to caller number 4, 615-737-1025. Caller number 4 will win a pair of tickets to see the Preds take on the St. Louis Blues coming up at Bridgestone Arena on Monday night. Joe, the two jobs in the NFL still not filled when it comes to the head coaching part of this. The Raiders and the Cardinals are still searching for a head coach. Now, it looks like both of them have significant interest in Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator of the Seattle Seahawks. It looks like they're both going to be interviewing him this weekend. Seattle leaves for the Super Bowl on Sunday, and I believe that both the Raiders and the Cardinals will be in Seattle this weekend trying to nail down an interview with Clint Kubiak. Problem is, Joe, he can only pick one job, right? Like he can only pick the Cardinals or the Raiders. And I don't know about you. I mean, I understand that the Raiders are bad and that they have horrific ownership. And it's been, when you start talking about dumpster fire franchises over the last 20 years, they're pretty high on the list. They also have the number 1 pick coming up. They have Brock Bowers in the fold. They have Ashton Genty, who they just spent a high pick on. Like there are some pieces there that you could talk yourself into being excited about with the Raiders. I have no idea about the Cardinals, man. Like the Cardinals, if they don't land Clint Kubiak, like who's their head coach going to be? I know they interviewed Mike LaFleur earlier this past week. So there's Mike LaFleur who has been interviewed. Saleh was scheduled to be interviewed by them. He never got there. So you've got that going on. I think they also, at some point through this whole thing, interviewed Ron Rivera, which is interesting. So maybe Rivera.
The Cal GM?
Yeah. Maybe he's the next head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. Anthony Weaver interviewed with the Cardinals back on January the 26th. So, I mean, look, obviously they've got some options there, but I think it's a race. It looks like a race to Clint Kubiak right now between the Cardinals and the Raiders to see who's going to land him. And then I guess the one who doesn't has to pivot after that.
Yeah, I'd have to give the Raiders a big edge with, like you said, Mendoza. And I guess you hope that Brady is some kind of a positive. I mean, again, Charles has basically told us that Brady's running the thing. Is that like he's the great Tom Brady, right? He's become the greatest announcer. He's like better at the microphone than Edward Murrow, according to some people. So would he not be like a really good over the long haul, front office guy? I don't know.
You would think.
But ownership in both cases is bad. And the Cardinals are just, really irrelevant. Sometimes I forget about their existence, actually, which I'm sure some people around the country say about the Titans too, by the way. But I'm just saying. It's interesting that the Raiders would go. It's like they had the very successful older Seahawks head coach, and now they're plucking from the Seahawks their old former AFC West rivals. Taken from him, but he's a hot name. I don't know. It's like Chris Shula. Did he just interview himself out of complete
I guess so,
consideration for any sort of job? He was supposed to be like a hot name. And you don't hear about him anymore.
No. I guess that's just not happening this cycle. I guess he needs to work on his interview skills based on some of the reporting that's going on out there. So that part of it's going to be fascinating to see who ends up with those two jobs. I would assume at this point that Clint Kubiak's going to get one of them if he wants it. Now, maybe he doesn't. Now, maybe he pulls a Ben Johnson and is like, you know what? I'm just going to go back to Seattle, cook with Sam Darnold and Jackson Smith and Jigba for another year. In the next head coaching cycle, maybe there's a better job out there. That could very well happen.
Take the Eagles job next year.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the Eagles, they found their offensive coordinator. We were talking yesterday, Joe, about how apparently nobody wanted the job in Philadelphia. Like they've gone through all these candidates and now have circled back to Sean Mannion, who was the quarterback coach of the Green Bay Packers. Former NFL quarterback. He's only 33 years old, same age as me, Sean Mannion out there, but he is now the offensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles. Has not called plays before, obviously, but what do you make of that, and that being who Philadelphia has ended up with.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly like a name that has been out there. Like you said, I mean, he's a super young guy. Is it like they obviously are blaming the OC there at times, and it seems like they rise and fall with different OCs.
Yep.
And then but Sirianni, has he not also like dipped into play calling here and there? Is that am I right about that?
I think more towards the start of all of it.
Then he
yeah.
gave it up. Then
Yeah.
he sort of said, then he sort of disavowed it. Yeah. So, look, obviously, I don't know what it means. It's not like they have like a young quarterback to be developed. I think that they probably have scheme needs to help the quarterback more. And then they got to figure out all the stuff with AJ Brown or whatever. But anybody working with Green Bay Packers quarterbacks, to me, like, has some value, right? Like,
Apparently.
you have to be.
Yeah.
They must be doing some good stuff up there.
I mean, he was there for 1 year, right? Like he was the quarterback coach in Green Bay for a year. So it does feel, I mean, I understand the guy himself was a former NFL quarterback, but it does feel pretty fast, right? Like to go from being a quarterback coach for 1 year in Green Bay to now the offensive coordinator with the Philadelphia Eagles and that roster with those expectations.
Yeah, but
Pretty
I guess
quick jump.
It is, but it's like if you have a position that's really exceptional at a certain place, that stuff can happen. I guess, but technically, I mean, he was like wasn't he like the assistant QB coach in 24? So that would be like kind of 2 years.
Yeah.
But 1 year as the guy.
Right.
Malik Willis came in here and won last year and had some really good performance. I still say, like, this year he looked like a different guy from last year, right?
Agreed.
So there you go. Who knows, like, how that will go in Philly. And I don't blame anybody for that. That's a heck of a jump, like you said. So sure, take that job. It's a very talented team, but it must be something really hard about being the OC with the Philadelphia Eagles.
There must be. I mean, there's been, for as successful as they have been, right? There's been a lot of turmoil there. And look, some of them, I mean, have been guys just taking head coaching jobs too, right? Like, I mean, they've had plenty of success stories with members of their offensive staff that have gone on to take head coaching jobs elsewhere. But it's been a lot of turmoil for a spot that's won as many games as they have over the last 5 years.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of other examples of high level of success. Not totally consistent, but even like, again, the down turmoil filled years, they win tons of games. Like they right? Like what?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like a comp for that in this league. I'm sure there are some, but nothing comes to mind. Like, just like, I mean, I don't know, maybe like the old Cowboys. I don't know. I mean, they were just dominant. I mean, they had some wacky stuff going on. They always do. They were just so dominant, it didn't matter. I don't know. You had the Jimmy Johnson stuff, and Jerry, and the ego clash there and things like that. But that's owner coach. This is I don't know, man. I feel like, first of all, I'm still intrigued to find out what this. Maybe Schefter was just
blowing smoke.
Yeah, but it was if you heard that, it was like, wait, what are you trying to say here, man? So, but I can't imagine Sirianni. I mean, he'll be back, but I just don't know what it would be other than, I guess, trading AJ.
Maybe he was that excited about Sean Mannion. Like, he was like, we're going to have a lot of things to discuss with Sean Mannion, including when he's going to replace Nick Sirianni as the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles.
There you go. Maybe ESPN Bet has the odds on what week it'll be next year.
Could be. We'll see what happens on that front. But some busy times in the NFL here. And again, does Clint Kubiak decide, you know what, I think I might like next year's coaching cycle better, or does he end up choosing one of the Raiders or the Cardinals here? We'll find out on that front. The Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode is coming up next, taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Teron Davenport will be with us at 8 o'clock. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robby and Rexrode.
Jeremy Pruitt, freaking
Oh boy.
all the way down to the ites, and I was like, oh yeah, man, this guy's a ball coach.
Well, every day I look in the mirror.
But sometimes I definitely notice my nipples.
I don't think I'm getting any younger.
I mean, I throw Katie on the bus all the time. I mean,
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Have I mentioned Paul Koharski? Have I mentioned that's my name?
Ooga, ooga.
Paul Koharski, have you heard of me? PaulKoharski.com.
Hopefully scale down the crazy dressing habits that he picked up down there.
Oh, I think I love you too.
I have dyslexia.
Urinal cakes.
It is time for the Rex Rant, brought to you by Functional Medicine of Tennessee. Heal from the inside out. Check them out at functionalmedicineoftennessee.net. Joe Rexrode, the floor is yours.
that was beautiful. I actually kind of really enjoyed my Mike Koharski today. You know, I feel like I really hit it today. So you just some days it just doesn't quite hit. So sticking with the NFL coaching roster, one team that did not change. I think I've now come up with a new least favorite coach in all of sports. And I think that the presence of his quarterback for a long time maybe sort of diminished that a little bit, muted that. But now I think you can really see, like you can, Robby, you can take your Shane Beamer and his TikToks all day. Some people hate Dabo. Again, I'm a Dabo fan now. Some people, Belichick, and by the way, Belichick, I mean, if you look at Belichick and what they did, like in the portal, what they lost, everything, like I think they have a pretty good chance to be worse next year. So get ready for that one. Yeah. Nate Oates now is a guy who obviously people are all over him, and they should be. So a lot of people hate Danny Hurley, of course, right? You know what? My least favorite coach in all of sports is Sean Payton. And I think like strongly at this point, I think he has really earned that. Again, I think all those years you had the bounty stuff and all that. I mean, he's always been arrogant, like very clearly, very obviously. But I don't know. Maybe it just seems to me like I like the Saints. The Saints were likable. Drew Brees, you had to love Drew Brees, Kamara and all those guys. And you look at Sean Payton now, and for anybody who missed it, he had a press conference, and he picked Bo Nix. He gave Bo Nix this incredible opportunity. There are a lot of people in this league who would not have picked him where they picked him. Right? They've done really good things together. So Sean Payton has a press conference, starts talking about Bo Nix and his injury history and all that stuff, and then Bo Nix immediately basically refutes all that and says, "Why is he talking about that?" That's one thing. But also Sean Payton, after what just happened, he comes out and he fires offensive coordinator Joe Lombardi, along with receivers coach Gary Colbert, cornerbacks coach Az Lynch. But I don't know everything. We don't know everything that went on behind closed doors. But it's like, Sean Payton is the absolute essence of I'm just going to smoke people and sacrifice people and, like no loyalty, anything like that. Like that's what he's been. 15 years of work with Lombardi. You tell me with Jarrett Stidham at quarterback in a driving snowstorm with Sean Payton calling plays.
Well, that's the thing.
But Joe Lombardi you're out, dude. You didn't have a plan for us to figure this out after I decided not to, kick that field goal. And then I called a stupid play after that. But Joe, you're out. Every time he talks now, it gets more and more grating. I think he is the least likable coach in sports.
He's pretty unlikable, man. Like, I'd have to run through the list of the most unlikable people in sports, but he's up there. I mean, look, I don't know. Maybe he's been planning to fire his offensive coordinator for weeks at this point. I have no idea, but they did just get the AFC title game. He is the play caller, and they had Jarrett Stidham in at quarterback in the AFC championship game. So there's a lot going on there that's working against you when you have Jarrett Stidham as your quarterback in the AFC title game anyway. So I don't know. That part of it's weird. I do think probably more than anything, Sean Payton says some things sometimes that just are so like they just unnecessarily create problems, and usually unnecessarily create problems within like his own team, right? Like this Bo Nix thing is the perfect example of that. And look, I understand that Russell Wilson is kind of an interesting cat, right? And we've talked about give me my own office and this, all that weird stuff. So I understand Russell Wilson's a little out there, and by all accounts in Seattle, I guess he's just very difficult to deal with. I even thought the way that he handled the Russell Wilson thing in terms of some of the things that he said publicly, like, dude, you're an NFL head coach. Like, you don't really need to be throwing this dude under the bus as publicly as you are right now, right? Like, you're a coach. Like, I would have to think in the locker room, it's like, really? Like, our coach is out here just handling our quarterback that way? It's just weird. Yes. I think he just creates problems for himself at times when it really is not all that necessary to do that.
No, he is just a consistent jerk, and he doesn't seem to care. We've got some Broncos fans weighing in, and like Ultra BMW on the YouTube chat's like, yeah, he's a Broncos fan. Jared says Peyton's bad, but Sirianni is the most punchable face in the NFL. I think Sean Payton is a great example of, we talk about players, playing for coaches and liking coaches and all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
If you're good, you can get away. Like, there are coaches in this league, players didn't like them. They still won because they had good players.
Yeah.
First, start there. They had good players. But the coach is smart, and he is. I mean, he's obviously a very good schemer. He's a very, good coach in terms of football. I'm sure, some of these guys don't completely hate playing for him. I have no idea. But like the way that whole thing, I kind of even look at it differently with Russell Wilson than I did at the time. This thing with Nix, again, this is a great story in this league, what Bo Nix has done. It's terrible that he had this injury. Like, how are you've been in the league this long and you think that it's okay to go up there and, talk about it? Like, again, I want coaches to be transparent as much as possible about injuries, but like, he went way beyond that to the point where Nix has to get out there and also correct him, by the way, and say that's not accurate. It's just and the arrogance is just oozes off him.
He seems
that's the thing.
He seems like a jerk, and he lies. He seems like he's completely full of it. The whole going back to, I know this was a little bit different, the Stidham situation, going back and listening to the comments that he talked about this whole week with Stidham, and he's going to make all the throws and this and all that, just completely full of it.
Well, he's arrogant. But the bad part about it is he's obviously clearly a really good coach, right? Like, clearly he's a very good coach, which makes it worse because it's like, well, he's good, but he's also just borderline insufferable to listen to at times. And I like this is, again, I mean, this could be very well be a thing. I mean, clearly Drew Brees loved the guy, right? So, and that is what it is. Clearly he's got some ability to connect with players because he's been as successful as he's been for a long time. I don't know, just the public persona that he puts out there and the head coaching part of connecting with players don't always add up to me.
No, and that's I'd love to know. I mean, I think you're probably right. It seems that way with Drew Brees, but is it also like Drew Brees was like, okay, I'm glad I don't play with that guy? I don't know. Like, he seems just so unlikable. But that's the thing, though. If you're great, if you're a coach like him, and again, is an excellent coach, and then you have a quarterback who's great, you're probably going to get along pretty well, right?
A couple of things on this point, Joe. Like, there's, I think, a couple of points to bring up. Number one, I'm going to throw somebody out there in sports that I don't think is there yet, but if he coaches for a long time, could absolutely fall into this category. And number two, I think somebody right now that is a head coach that you're missing that you would put in the number one spot. Let me throw JJ Redick at you. I think if he coaches for a while, he's going to move up this list rapidly. He gets on my nerves. I do not like JJ Redick. And I think probably some of that dates back to him in his days at Duke, but
he's been punchable his entire life.
He's just arrogant. Like, he's just an arrogant guy. So JJ Redick, I think, has a chance to move up that list. But as Tyrus points out on the YouTube chat, your boy Patty Roy is a head coach right now in the National Hockey League. You'd think that'd be number one on your list.
That's a good point, but he's so irrelevant. I don't really give a crap.
Wow. Playing the
I mean-
Predators this weekend.
I mean, once the Red Wings dragged his bloody carcass around the ice, to me, he was pretty much irrelevant after that. Or I guess it was good. He was still, he's still a meat shield, taking those 7 goals in that Game 7 in 2002. I mean, that was fun.
Now we're back.
With his punched face in the goal. Yeah, I don't think of him. I mean, it's interesting. I guess sometimes there's a playing career and a coaching career, and you separate those two. But no, he certainly would have to be up on the list of hateable anythings. Coaches, players, Canadians, people.
Wow.
Lenny's asked me if I feel the same about Robert Montgomery Knight as I do the coach of the Broncos.
Yeah.
Boy, I could do a whole hour on Bobby Knight. Great coach. I think I know a lot of people who I respect who absolutely love the guy. That guy there was some stuff he did and said that was completely out of bounds and ridiculous. He got away with way more than he should have. But it's a different. He was just a straight up jerk. Whereas the arrogant aspect of it, I think, is the difference with Peyton.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll be joined by Teron Davenport coming up next. Get his reaction to Robert Saleh's introductory press conference yesterday. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
ESPN's Turon Davenport, Talking Titans, now on Robby and Rexrode on ESPN, 102.5 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
It is that time of the week. We head to our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com and welcome in our friend Turon Davenport to the program. Fueled by Parman Energy. Visit ParmanEnergy.com, your one-stop petroleum solution. TD, of course, with ESPN, does an outstanding job covering the Tennessee Titans. TD, good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning. What's going on, fellas?
Not a lot, man. Appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning. TD, as you can imagine, we spent a lot of the show today discussing Robert Saleh and what he had to say yesterday at his introductory press conference. So let's just start there kind of generally. What was maybe one or two of the biggest takeaways that you had from Saleh, his press conference, and just what you thought of him yesterday and his first time being seen as the head coach of the Tennessee Titans?
Yeah, well, one of the things we discussed last week was just how you could learn from losing, right? And I think that's something that he did, and he said he regretted not calling plays because it didn't allow him to get the feel of the game and feel for the players and connect with them the way he wanted to. And he's going to do that this time around with the Titans. So I think that's one. I do like how he kind of got into Brian Daboll and just how his scheme stresses the run-pass conflict in the defense, and it's going to attack it. I think that's something that's really good. And just the way he spoke about Daboll and how confident he is that there will be a benefit to Cam Ward. And obviously that's the key to everything, right? Getting that offense right. The defense, for the most part, we know is going to be good, but you need to get the offense right. And I think that's something that he really stressed and emphasized. And those are the things that stood out to me.
Yeah, so I thought it was really interesting, TD, as he's talking about the plan, the succession plan, which obviously, this team has success. Daboll would be one of those guys who you would think would get another look. Maybe not. I don't know. I guess we'll the Titans would love to find out because they'd love to have enough success for that to even be a possibility. But I thought it was interesting, Saleh talking about really essentially promoting from within. And I know all coaches want to do that. He said it'll become clear, as the staff is completely cemented and all that. But first of all, what do you think of that? Because obviously, if you don't do that, if he goes outside, he's probably bringing that Shanahan system back and changing the terminology all over again and back to some hybrid of what Cam did last year. But what about, is there anybody come to mind to you that we know is going to be on this staff who might be identified as one of those fast risers?
Yeah, that's a good call. I would say probably Shea Tierney, right, who they are bringing on likely to be the quarterback coach. That's one, but don't forget Greg Lewis. And I think Greg Lewis, I've actually covered him when he was coaching the Eagles receivers in 2016. And I just remember, the way he connected with the players. And obviously he's got to Kansas City and did his thing with Andy Reid. And then, of course, in Baltimore as well. So he's another one that I think could be right there as someone who they call on to do the take over, right, once Brian Daboll leaves, if he does.
I mean, TD, it doesn't take a genius to look at Robert Saleh and realize why he's impressive to people, right? It feels like he had a plan for every conceivable scenario that could have come up throughout this process here. I mean, clearly there are some things that he has learned from his first time as a head coach with the New York Jets that he's trying to make different and apply now in stop number 2 here with the Tennessee Titans. But I guess probably the thing that stands out the most to me, TD, is I think the ability to connect with your players. That's something Mike Borgonzi was really looking for in this process. It's something that Saleh has demonstrated an ability to do. And I think, TD, with where this team is right now, that's probably where you start, right? They need that while you're building out this roster and bringing in the guys they want to bring in. You got to have somebody in there that connects with the players, which I just don't know that Callahan, and I'm not trying to throw shade on Callahan, I just don't know that he ever really got there with this group.
Yeah, well, I'm not really going to speak on that part, but I will say this. There were 13 guys in attendance And I think that spoke volumes. And
Yeah.
I watched after the press conference, I watched how he went up to them and shook their hands. And, he stayed and talked to Jeffrey Simmons for a bit. And I tell you, we had a luncheon with Saleh before everything went down. And I remember I was over there making a smoothie, and I saw Cam Ward walk in, and I was like, what? Then I saw Tajay Spears walk in, and I'm like, wow, okay. Maybe these guys just are, handling some business around the building. But then we get upstairs for the press conference. I see Kevin Winston. I see Femi Oladejo. I see, Jeffrey Simmons pop up. I see J.C. Latham. And then you also look at J.C. Latham. Speaking of him, he retweeted something, or not tweeted. He not retweeted. He posted something on X just in regards to when Saleh said that you're going to feel the energy of the team through your TV in your living room. And you could just tell that there was already a connection. And I think these guys were really starving for someone to come in and be a leader for them and set the winning culture. And I think, he got off to a really good start, but there is so much work to do. So we'll see how it continues. But it does seem like there's already a connection to the players. And that's something that Saleh is known for. If you remember what Mike Berganzi said in his introductory part of the press conference, he mentioned how he would watch from afar, the times where he was on the opposite field of Saleh pregame, and he would watch the energy that he had, and he would watch the way he interacted with the players and how they would react to him. So that just says it right there. I think that's an area that you don't really have to be concerned about. But, I mean, obviously, winning is the biggest concern. And unfortunately, he hasn't done that as a head coach. So that's something that they need to get going.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting about it, TD. We were just talking about Sean Payton, and I'm sure there's some players who like Sean Payton, but it's hard for me to imagine why the way that he goes about his business and the way he talks. Again, in this is what we see on the outside, but I'm sorry, I just have a hard time believing that the players are like, man, I just love this dude. I just really want to win for this guy. But he's smart and he's a good coach and he can put them in position to win, right? So at some point it's you can love someone, but are they really good? Vrabel, people always talk about him with the connection with the players. Also, people talk about the dude as a defensive tactician was ridiculous, right? Here. And people were blown away by his by his level of knowledge. And so I guess it's just an interesting, it's it goes so far, right? Until these players believe that you can actually do the things to out scheme the other coaches or that you can have enough players. I mean, that's another thing. They need more players. But it goes to a certain point, right? And then you have to prove that you are good enough at your job to win.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. The bottom line is winning. And yeah, I would imagine players want to like the coach and want to get along with him, but they want to win more. And so I think in the case with Sean Payton, hey, if you're winning, it's everything's going to be fine. And I think, in this case, what you have is these guys they have to get that culture. They have to get out of the stink that comes with winning 6 games in 2 years. And that's really going to be the main thing. How can they get that fresh message in there, the hard coaching? And one other thing that Saleh said that I really like, we had another conversation with him after the press conference. And he said that, he'll never undress a player in the media, right? But he said, rest assured, behind closed doors, there's going to be some hard, tough conversations, and we're going to coach these guys hard. That's what he said. And I think that's something that the guys do want. They want that honesty. They want that desperately. And I'm not saying that didn't happen before, but that is something that will also allow him to, help this group get back into the winning ways.
TD, last thing for you here. What do you like the most about the pairing of Dable with Cam Ward and that partnership, what it's going to look like?
I think the thing I like the most is Dable's not going to take any crap. I think, it's a guy who's going to push back at him. And I think it's also a proven track record of working with guys, and I think that's going to be beneficial to Cam.
TD, good stuff as always, man. I know it's been a very busy week for you. Appreciate so much you taking time to join us this morning here on the show. And have a good weekend, man. We'll talk to you next week.
For sure. Always, man. Appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. Teron Davenport, our guest, joins us every Friday morning at 8 o'clock here on the show. Fueled by Parman Energy. Visit parmanenergy.com, your one-stop petroleum solution. We'll react to what TD had to say there, take more of your thoughts on Robert Saleh and his introductory press conference from yesterday with the Titans. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game.
Hi, Robert. Paul Kuharski from paulkuharski.com. Can you walk us through a bit your plan for Cam Ward and how you and Brian expect to get the most out of him heading into his second year and into his career?
No, absolutely. Great question too. Like Cam, from everything that I've gathered, just all the discussions I've had throughout the building and throughout the league, comes with an elite work ethic, elite character, an elite person. And, when you look at his body of work as a rookie, a lot of these rookies, when they come in through the middle of OTAs. But so the biggest thing that we're going to work with Cam, just going all the way back to the beginning, we've gotten a whole off season to work with him, take him back to the very, very beginning, both on the field, off the field, the process at which what it looks like to not only be a professional with regards to preparation in his body, but as a professional with regards to preparing from a game planning standpoint or a playbook standpoint. But, just talking with Dabes over the course of the last few weeks, he is the perfect man to match up with Cam and to maximize who he is. So again, we're really pumped to get to work with Cam and get him to where we all know he can be.
As Robert Saleh yesterday at his introductory press conference, taking your reaction and your thoughts from Robert Saleh and what he had to say yesterday. Joe, what did you think of his plan for Cam Ward that he outlined there? And overall, what did you make of the Robert Saleh press conference yesterday?
I thought that was a really good answer. I thought he had a lot of really good answers. It was a very good press conference. He won the press conference. It was super impressive. I've seen many other super impressive press conferences that did not lead to super impressive coaching tenures in various sports, but it was very good. And I loved that question because
at Paul Kuharski, if I mention my name, it's Kuharski, and it's paulkuharski.com.
You want to be in the all-22, Robert?
Yeah. We'll go golfing once a year.
Oh, my God. The fact that he got a third, I get it. You're saying your name.
Sure.
And then you're saying your website, which is your name. But the fact that he got in a third, Paul Kuharski, very, very clever. Very clever. You got a great question back from Saleh. But, and he did not ask the question that I wanted to ask yesterday, but we can talk about that with him next week. But no, I thought that was it. TD with some good insight last segment on what I thought was one of the more interesting parts of the presser, which was the answer on I think that was another Kuharski question, was it not?
I believe so.
I think it was on the succession plan. That was a good question. That one, good job, Kuharski. And because obviously, there is. I mean, you can laugh at it if you're a Titans fan, be like, oh yeah, because we're going to win enough that someone's going to want to hire our OC away. But remember, a non-playoff team in 2018 with a decent offense got its OC hired away to the Green Bay Packers, as Robby can painfully attest. So you never know. If the Titans have some level of turnaround, Cam Ward has clear progress. Both of these things are very much on the table and possible. That could be enough for someone to look at Daboll. I don't know. Daboll, is some of the unhinged stuff that happened as a head coach, is that going to really cost him and make him be an OC for a while? I don't know.
But he was getting some interviews this year.
Yeah. Now, the Bills thing a little different because that's back home and that's where he, developed. Josh Allen, I'm sure, loves him, but we'll see. But the answer on succeeding him was very interesting, and it just sounds very much like Saleh has told Borgonzi, this guy, maybe even this guy, and then this guy. I think both of them could do the job at a high level, especially after we get into this. And it was a very good answer from Saleh just about the development of coaches. It's a good point. Everybody talks about it. Everybody talks about players, but you are, as a veteran coach, you're supposed to also be helping people get to the point where they can coach at a higher level and fill top spots on coaching staffs.
It's Borgo. It's not Borgonzi.
Oh, yeah, Borgo. My bad.
Borgo and Dabes.
Borgo and Dabes. Sounds like
I did enjoy that. Kuharski brought up the slogans that Saleh's had before too. The all gas, no brakes, and all the things that get painted on the wall and all that stuff. I did enjoy that interaction where he's like, we're always going to be all gas, no brakes, and I'm sure I'll come up with something later this year, but he kind of leaned away from the slogans part of it, which I appreciated. I was like, it's good. Let's not have a bunch of Butch Jones stuff painted on the wall everywhere there.
Yeah, but it'll be there. I mean, there'll be some. They all do
That's
that
fine.
stuff.
I mean, let's not recite it like it's the General Nealon game maxim before the game.
More steam.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and it's Garcia did ask because I still need. This is another question that didn't get asked that I still at some point I need this asked. Like I totally get all gas, no brakes, and like what's next? Okay, great. So we did this. What's next? Love and regard. I still don't get. Like I don't love and regard. I gotta know what I'm sure I could find on the internet when like he explained this to Jets reporters, but it's just like love and regard. Huh? Interesting. Yeah. So he said that he kind of poo-pooed as that words are words. Does that mean he's not going to have slogans?
Paul.
Oh, I bet
he's
he's
slogan.
got slogans. I bet nice. I bet he's got slogans. I bet we'll find some, which I'm cool with. That's fine. I have no problem with the slogans. It's just the some coaches go a little overboard with them.
Yeah, put them on the wall and leave it alone. I will say that I think this week Izzo was on maybe like John Rothstein's or whatever, and he went brick. He started talking brick by brick. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. They really all kind of have a lot of the same catchphrases. I wish I could remember Malarkey exactly the wording of it that they had in the football building right after Amy redid it. It was like cut out your opponent's jugular and eat it. But it wasn't quite that bad, but it was like we will kill
slogan.
and then maim them. Oh God.
We will cannibalize our opponents.
Yeah. It wasn't biting kneecaps, but it was something like that. It was like,
Okay.
geez, man, it's just football.
What is
down.
this? This is from the Tennessean. Trample the weak, hurdle the dead.
Wow.
What that was from the Tennessean about Malarkey?
I think so.
Maybe that's what it was. That might have been it. Trample the weak, hurdle the dead. What? Jeez, man. Like, why don't you just beat your blocker? You don't have to actually like rip out their throat on the way to the quarterback. Trample, hurdle the dead. I think that might have been it. Yes.
That's it. Trample the weak, hurdle the dead. That's what it was. You paired that with the exotic smash mouth that was going on at the time too. There's a lot of good stuff.
Would you say you hurdled the dead today, Mike?
I don't remember that question.
I'm stunned. Kuharski never really drilled down on that.
I know. He hammered the good to great until we all wanted him to shut up, but he never talked about hurdling the dead. Interesting.
615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll get more into Robert Saleh's press conference from yesterday coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. I'm enjoying some live sports right now, Joe. Novak Djokovic, Yannick Sinner in a battle, 5 sets in the Australian Open semifinal right now. A battle.
And so, and still not decided, huh?
Match point number 3 upcoming for Novak Djokovic. So
what's the score in the fifth set?
He's up 5-4.
Okay.
In the 5th set. So this could swing wildly here in a couple seconds.
This has a chance to go the distance.
It absolutely does. So we will see what happens on that point. A lot of your thoughts to get to on the Robert Saleh front, 615-737-1025. People are asking if the Liam Cohen situation came up at all at the press conference. It did not. No mention of Liam Cohen. I'm sure at some point with Robert Saleh that will come up. Has a chance to be a special rivalry between the Titans and the Jags once again, between these two guys as head coaches.
I mean, I had forgotten or maybe I never realized. I'm sure it was part of the whole thing last year with the, Cohen's going to go, then he's going to stay, then you got to fire the GM, all this stuff. But I at least forgot that Saleh was, I guess, basically second runner-up for the Jags job. So that's a question yesterday. Okay, well, you were almost got the Jags job last year. You just got the Titans job. Which job would you rather have, Robert?
There you go.
But seriously,
just nail it down.
But like the serious question is, like, you're playing Liam Cohen twice a year. Your thoughts?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's gonna be. I mean, what was we were just talking about, like, trample the hurdle the dead. What did Saleh say to him? Like, I'll end you.
Something of that neighborhood, yes.
I will rip your soul out of your body. I mean, we get to see these guys coach against each other twice a year.
According to the AI quick Google search, this is just what AI says. I need to go back and watch it. But he said, I will fart your world up, is what he said.
Oh, man, that's awesome. Oh, God, I can't wait. Remind me, I don't even remember. So Saleh said something during the week about the Jags, right? Like, is it something with
stealing signs
stuff?
It was some type of sign thing. Yeah.
Which, first of all, again, like stealing signs is okay.
Sure.
That's why everybody is up there with 3 different people doing it, and coaches are, holding the thing over their mouth like they're freaking
just
Joe
don't have
Pesci.
Connor Stallions rappelling from the ceiling out there with some recording device.
Or the Patriots taping, and then of course the NFL destroys the tapes for them. Belichick. But good luck next year. But I just, like, why is that? Why does that make you so mad? And it's a really interesting. Like, why did that make him so mad? So then he's got to go say something.
He said he told Robert Saleh, keep his name out of your mouth. That's what he said.
Woo, baby, this is going to be good. Problem for Saleh is, at least early, like, his team is a few players short. But you know what? In this league, in one really good offseason, you can improve a team a lot. We've just seen it in this very division. Like, just think of, like, in recent years, like, the jumps out of kind of nowhere that the Texans, Jags, and Colts have made at different points. It's probably about time for the Titans to do something like that.
It would be nice to see that happen. It'll make the victory over Cohen and the Jags that much sweeter when they get it done with a shorthanded roster this year.
I mean, that has a chance to be a heck of a ride. Like,
yes, it does.
Legitimately
looking forward to it.
Yeah, like, you're going way, way back. I know Titans, and we've had this like topic before of, like, which of them do you I feel like Titans fans, the Colts is more important because they've had the great quarterbacks. They've won a Super Bowl, right, and all that stuff. The Texans have that's more of the owner, that's more the family, I think. But then there's still the fans complaining about the Titans, taking the Oilers stuff or whatever. But it seems like just fan dislike might be Jacksonville, right?
Well, I think a lot of it dates back to the early days. I mean, 99 was, they played them 3 times en route to their path to the Super Bowl. But I mean, it was pretty nasty after that too for a couple of years, right? Like there's been different iterations of it. I mean, that one was obviously the most intense one, but look, I remember some battles they had with, Maurice Jones-Drew running the ball out there and Chris Johnson running I mean, they've had their moments in this rivalry. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. So just you gotta make it a rivalry by beating them. And again, it was not that long ago when losing to the Jaguars was an embarrassing thought for the Tennessee Titans, but that's how things swing in the NFL.
Yeah. So the Earhart-Perkins system that Brian Daboll is coming in to run, it's going to be interesting to see kind of what strengths they can highlight through that with Cam Ward. Obviously Cam Ward, and by the way, Mike Morganzi was asked about Cam Ward yesterday at the press conference in terms of the health that he's in. And he didn't go into a great amount of detail, but basically just said that Ward is continuing to rehab and he didn't assign a date to it, but looking forward to, keeping the rehab going and hopefully at some point put in some of that work we've talked about in the off season and that he's healthy enough to do it. So we'll see what that ends up looking like there. But the system that Daboll's coming in with, I mean, you heard TD earlier this hour talk about how, Daboll, as we know, he doesn't put up a lot of crap, right? We know that about Brian Daboll. So you've got that, you've got the coaching experience that comes with it and the system that he's running here. And we talked earlier in the show about Saleh's comments about the game planning part of that and how the whole league is basically running some version of Shanahan or McVay's offense. And if you're running a different system, that could cause some problems for defensive coordinators there. The more I think about it, the more I look at that pairing, Daboll and what he can do with Cam Ward and how much progress that means for Cam Ward in year 2 is going to be really interesting. I mean, obviously they got to go get him some help. They got to go get him some receivers. And Saleh's talked about that too of you don't want your quarterback when they're a first or second year player having to be Superman out there and making sure that winning or losing entirely runs through them. So it's on them to build the roster here too. But I would expect if you're a Titans fan looking for a set of circumstances that's going to allow Cam Ward to take a pretty meaningful jump from year 1 to year 2, I think you have to feel pretty good about Daboll being the one working with it.
Yeah, and I think the obvious demonstrated, it's not coach speak, it's not OC speak, player speak, it's the demonstrated belief in him. That's real. You can't deny it. I know someone yesterday was like, well, that's just spin on the text. I was like, no, I mean, it was reported well before there was any sort of marriage here. It was reported that Daboll loved Cam Ward. Daboll. So I gotta get that name right. Dabes. And they tried to move up. They offered the Titans a lot. I know, it's as time goes on, that'll come up more if Cam Ward doesn't get way better. But point being, he obviously believes in him and reached out per some reporting here and reminded the Titans of that. So that's a good starting point for sure. I think there's a lot of promise in that relationship. Yeah, as far as the scheme, we talked about this earlier in the show. The vast majority of teams in this league use some iteration of the West Coast, which is the new West Coast would be Shanahan. If you go back to Bill Walsh,
yep.
Shanahan takes it to Denver. Shanahan really was a guy who, and I'm talking elder Shanahan, who really, Mike made the zone running scheme a dominant thing in football and on and on and on. So you got Earhart-Perkins. I believe the 3 teams that were using that were Buffalo, the Giants, and the Lions. This is a great, and then Air Coryell, there's Philly, Baltimore, Dallas, Denver. It's a great lesson in all this is that Joe Gibbs was the OC for Don Coryell with the great Chargers teams, which were probably my favorite teams to watch. Not just because of Dan Fouts, because of all the incredible Charlie Joyner and Wes Chandler and Kellen Winslow. It was an amazing offense to watch. In the 80s, when a lot of teams were still 3 yards in a cloud of dust, it was so much fun, so advanced. Joe Gibbs becomes the offensive coordinator with that system in Washington, and they win a Super Bowl and go to a Super Bowl, and eventually they win 3 Super Bowls. And there's no way you would ever think it was the same offense. It was hand the ball to John Riggins and overpower people with the best offensive line in football and maybe the best ever, the Hogs, and throw to the tight end and play action. It was totally different. And that's just the lesson is like, again, think about Buffalo and Detroit. That's the same offense, air quotes, right? Doesn't look anything like the same offense. It's quarterback run stuff all over the place in Buffalo because that's your quarterback. Detroit, the guy can't move an inch. So it's terminology is really the thing. I think the West Coast, like these play calls are super long, and Earhart Perkins is supposed to be way shorter. You don't love the idea of like, going back, switching up again on Cam if it happens that Daboll leaves, which is why maybe part of why like an internal hire would be great if you can do it. I don't think it's that big of a deal. It'd be interesting to hear like Cam's thoughts like in the spring on the differences and things like that. But it's all about who are your players and then what are you doing? Like to me, the Titans need to do more RPO stuff with Cam Ward. It's a no-brainer, and other things that can accentuate his skills.
As David points out on the text lines, Papa Shanahan, according to Robert Saleh. Not Mike, not Daddy Shanahan. It's Papa Shanahan.
Papa Shanahan. All right. Yep. Papa Shanahan. Gotcha.
Yep.
Who is your
one
daddy
texter,
and what does he do?
There we go.
One texter says, I think at this point, the whole division are the Titans' rivals. Texans got the ownership stuff. Colts, you got the Peyton years. Jacksonville messing up each other's seasons for years. I mean, yeah, that's what the division is supposed to be. But it is an interesting question, like at this moment, which team do Titans fans either hate the most or what's your biggest rival in the division right now? Because I do think that has fluctuated over the years. It's probably most commonly been the Colts, but that has fluctuated over the years.
I think it also sometimes with like rivalries or whatever, it's like I think clearly beating the Colts is the best. That's what you celebrate. I mean, they're the best franchise.
Yeah.
And there were some long stretches where the Titans didn't do a lot of that. So to me, it's like the win over the Colts is probably still the sweetest. But who do you hate losing to the most?
Yeah, that's a good question.
And I would say I feel like the Jags. I would have to give the edge to the Jags. People correct me if I'm wrong. That's just the sense I get.
By the way, Djokovic gets it done. They win, or Djokovic wins in the fifth set there.
Wow. So Joker Alcaraz, huh?
Yeah.
No. Good stuff.
38 years old, still getting it done out there.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
615.
They said oldest since the 70s to make a final.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll wrap up the show with more of your thoughts on Robert Saleh's press conference. We got a big weekend in sports to look ahead to as well. And no, I'm not talking about the Pro Bowl. All that coming up. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Final segment of the day, Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game, taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Joe, bottom line on Robert Saleh, I thought it was impressive. I thought the most important takeaway I had was it clearly feels like he's got a plan, he's prepared, and that he's learned things from his first stop. He has learned things from his first stop, from stop one to stop two. And now the feel-good stuff, the press conference is behind us, and it's about coaching football and adding to this roster. That's what it comes down to, and we'll see whether or not he's good at that. We'll see whether or not he is the right guy to be the head coach that leads this team out of what has basically been a poverty-stricken franchise over the last 4 years and gets them back to being a team that can compete and is relevant again in the AFC. That's the main thing. He won the press conference yesterday. That's great. Now let's go win some football games. That's the next thing, Joe. Let's go win some football games around here. It's been a while.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a Titans fan who I can't imagine a Titans fan not liking that presser, not liking him if you weren't that familiar with him before that. I mean, I can't imagine that not leaving a good impression. I can't imagine it not leaving a good impression on the players for that matter. But yeah, they need way more good ones. No matter, he can do all those things, and you want to be able to, do more with less. But the bottom line is they have less and they need more. So there's that. And look, his tenure, Borgonzi's tenure. I mean, especially Borgonzi because he picked him. But I mean, it's so much about the quarterback. If you have to support him properly, which he was not last year, but he also has to take big strides. Yes, it's on them to develop him, and Daboll is very important. But if Cam Ward independently gets better in some ways and makes strides, then I think a lot of what Saleh does is going to be really good in the building, because the players, I think, he's absolutely going to get buy-in. He's going to get, I think, the stuff he said about players just want you to be honest with them, right, and just authentic and tell them the real deal and not BS them. He obviously gets that, and I think that's 100% true. So, I think the defense is probably, even though personnel-wise, I think they're behind the offense, I do expect the defense to take a clear jump next year. But what are they doing? What are they doing to help Cam Ward, and what does Cam Ward look like coming off the injury too, by the way?
Yep, going to be very fascinating to see what happens on that front. Joe, what has caught your eye? What do we got going on in the world of sports this weekend?
Oh yeah, I just want to let people know. I know it's a football-free weekend, which is tough. I mean, it's the first. Yeah, you can watch the Senior Bowl, so that's fine. But I mean, in football games that count.
Right.
This is the first weekend since mid-August that we haven't had one, which is tough. But I just want you to know, people, college basketball is waiting for you. Okay, I'm just telling you, college basketball is waiting for you. So, Michigan State tonight is a huge one. You've got, Auburn, Tennessee is a huge one tomorrow. You got SMU, Louisville. You got BYU at Kansas, which is a massive game. Illinois is going to Nebraska Sunday. Massive. That's a Sunday. Alabama at Florida. Remember, Todd Golden said, the Bidiaco, he's like, yeah, they can do that. We'll still beat them. All right, let's see it. Vanderbilt, Ole Miss, by the way, have switched venues because of Ole Miss's weather. So that's here now. And Vanderbilt will go there later in the year. St. Mary's Gonzaga, late night Saturday, 9:30. I'm just saying, there's a lot of hoops. And, of course, Tennessee and Vanderbilt women's teams are, Vanderbilt has a whole bunch of ranked games coming up so to see if they can maintain being right around a 2 seed right now. Meanwhile, Belmont men are sitting there in first place. And what Casey Alexander's done with them has been awfully impressive. They continue to win these close games. So, a lot to get excited about in the hardwood, folks. Thank you. Thank you.
I don't know that I've ever heard anybody as excited as you just were to talk about all that stuff. It's like a kid in a candy store.
I tell you, man, it's a great sport. It's the thing about in all seriousness with college basketball, like the offensive numbers, and some of this is rule changes, but the skill is also, this might be the greatest freshman class ever. Like, it really might be the greatest freshman class ever in college basketball. We're comparing it to Ewing, Barkley, Jordan. Again, these are any of these guys going to be like all-time great NBA players like them. Chris Mullins, also class of 81. Not saying that, but there are like the draft is dominated by freshmen, and that's not the case that much anymore. Usually you see more Euros or sometimes older guys. Like this is going to be a freshman-dominated draft because it's so good. So, and the scoring is up. These games are. I know that's one of your complaints, Robbie, and I get it. Like, I don't love watching 63, 59 games either. There's a lot more 88, 85 games right now in college basketball.
Which matchup are you watching
time
this weekend? Which one of those are you going to watch this weekend, Robbie?
You know what? I'll probably watch a little bit of the Tennessee Auburn game.
Okay.
There we go.
I will.
That's a night game tomorrow.
Yeah. I'll probably watch a little bit of Tennessee Auburn.
Stephen Pearl, former Tennessee player at Tennessee.
Yeah, I watched some of Tennessee last week when they took down Bediako in Alabama, and it worked out well for me. So I think I'm just going to continue to watch Nate Ahmed's ascension to being the best player in the country by the end of the year.
Well, that's the thing is, speaking of the freshman class, he would not be in like the top 5 or 6 right now, but like he might be like 12th, and he's a lottery pick, which I know you watch him and it's like that skinny kid's a lottery pick, but I think he will be because of that size and the skill. And he's starting to figure it out, which is exciting. Speaking of Nate Oates, in the earlier rant, and someone pointed this out, and it's a big omission on my part. I mean, Lane Kiffin had to be mentioned there. I mean,
sure.
Right? I failed to mention him. And actually, that's an interesting one. It's really close, actually, for number one between Lane and Peyton. Recency bias, I'm giving it to Peyton, but I reserve the right to flip-flop.
I think Patrick Waugh is the answer. I think that's the answer at the end of it. When we really dig down deep.
I mean, is he even a coach? He's just a meat shield.
He is a coach. He does coach the New York Islanders.
Yeah, whatever.
Who are playing the Nashville Predators tomorrow, baby. Big game for the Preds. We'll see how it goes.
Stick it to Patty Roy.
That's right. Hope everybody has a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday morning. Stay safe this weekend with the weather and the cold coming in. And wish everybody the absolute best on that front. Next man up coming up next. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.